if somebody is in my position, you can go into two things: studying, applying your skills to industry, or applying your skills to academia. And if you apply to academia, you're studying the more theoretic side of it. And if you're applying to industry, you'd be studying all the more applied side of it. And if I had to go into industry, it would be for like some weird company like Google, or like something very AI motivated.
Well, I mean, I'm passionate about learning mathematics. I love thinking about mathematics and thinking about problems. And I could sit for hours and days and just think about problems. Yes.
Okay, welcome back to it, and this is it. Welcome back to the channel. And while at it, I always forget to tell people this, that they must subscribe. I always just come into the channel and we start talking. So please subscribe while at it. This is to support the channel and to make sure that other people actually see the channel, because I think what we are sharing on the channel is actually very much important and other people should see it. This is me blowing my own horn, But I was actually attending a conference, a mathematics conference recently, and I spoke to, a group of young researchers in mathematics. These are people who are doing their PhDs and their masters in mathematics. So they're doing research, So, people should know, because most of the time, the question that I always get is that if I'm doing research in mathematics, what am I actually doing in mathematics? So then I've had this, young researchers like myself, who actually shared on what they are doing, and they're doing some great work. So, for those of you who maybe, want to venture into doing research in mathematics, can actually look into that.
So you're just going to tell us your name, introduce yourself, and also what do you do?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to start with you, yeah.
Hi everybody, I am Khiria Yubar, and I am an MSc student at Stellenbosch University studying mathematics.
Okay. Are you doing your master's? Are you doing your...
Yeah, I'm doing my master's degree at the moment.
What is your research area?
My research area is representation theorems. So it's this idea of taking a more abstract concept and then finding all of the more concrete concepts that would generate this concept in some fashion.
Okay. So why do you think someone should do a postgraduate in mathematics? Yeah.
Well, I can tell you why I did a postgraduate in mathematics, and I did it because, well, I realized that there's nowhere else you're going to get the rush of thinking about a concept for so long, exploring its intricacies, and then just at some point seeing the bigger picture, seeing how it all fits together.
Okay.
It's what I'm here for.
And what's your plan after this?
I want to do my PhD and then go into academia.
Okay. No, thank you, Gideon. Kishan.
Hi.
Is it the same as him?
Sorry?
I mean, is it the same as him?
My answer to why you should do maths. Yeah, similar answer, I think.
Okay. So just introduce yourself and what you do.
Hi, I'm Kishan Dairam. I'm a PhD student registered at University of Johannesburg. I'm also an ad hoc lecturer at UKZN teaching third year mathematics.
What is an ad hoc lecture?
It's basically a contract lecture, so I'm only working for one semester currently.
Oh, okay. And how's the lecturing?
It's going well, except after the COVID lockdown and online learning, there have been a few challenges identified.
Yeah. So you think you're doing a PhD, right?
Yes.
So to a student who is figuring out what do people do in PhD, how can you summarize to them?
So in your PhD studies, your work is expected to be more independent from your supervisors. So your supervisors will generally agree on a problem during your PhD proposal, and then your task is to work on that problem, learn material needed to work on the problem, and generate results and hopefully an answer to the problem.
And what advice can you give to someone who's venturing into a PhD, who wants to do a PhD maybe? What advice can you give?
Work consistently.
Okay.
And make sure you enjoy the problem and the area you're working on. Otherwise, it will be much slower.
Yeah. Any challenges in your PhD so far?
No, not that I can think of.
So everything is good.
Yes.
So it means that you are murdering the maths.
Yeah.
And then after your PhD, are you planning to go into academia?
Yes, I am. So
Why?
Because I'd like to continue with research, and an academic position would give me that opportunity.
Okay. Is there something that attracted you into academia? Or it's just like, okay, I'm here now, I have to go into academia? Any inspiration maybe?
I like maths and I want to do research, and this is the best platform to do that.
Yeah, okay. No, thank you very much, Kishan.
Okay.
And now, going to the man, Kabir.
Hello, my name is Kabir Sumaraj. Yeah, that's me.
Yesterday you were telling me about topological data analysis, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So just tell everyone that you're doing a master's.
Yes, I'm doing my master's in TDA.
What is TDA?
It stands for Topological Data Analysis.
Okay.
But essentially what it is it's using techniques in geometry and topology. And topology is more or less, in a hand-waving way, geometry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he uses techniques from geometry to study data and make conclusions about data.
Oh,
So
okay.
the conclusions you can make from the data would be very useful for people that study data, like data analysis.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. So is it topology? Is it the topology that we know?
Yes, it's algebraic topology.
Oh, okay.
So like algebraic topology just uses techniques from algebra and studies topology, because it takes problems from general topology and it moves them to algebra, and more or less you use algebraic structures like groups, rings and modules and whatnot to study your topological problems you had initially in a set.
Oh, wow.
Space.
So how did you get into this study?
It's a good question. I don't know, like as you're moving up your academic career in undergrad, you get faced with more higher up math modules, and then as I did those modules, I started to take an interest in a common factor in certain modules, and all the modules that had that common factor were proof-based mathematic modules.
Yeah.
And for somebody like me that not a very technical person,
Yeah.
because I just explained something in a hand-waving way, I'd say that when you focus on the abstract ideas, you look at necessarily kind of the bigger picture of things, and I like that.
So you know there is a big thing about data science right now,
Yes.
and data analysis and stuff like that. Are you looking to go into that career area?
It could be a possible idea of me. So if somebody is in my position, you can go into two things:
Yeah.
applying your skills to industry, or applying your skills to academia. And if you apply to academia, you study the more theoretic side of it, and if you're applying to industry, you'd be studying the more applied side of it. And if I had to go into industry, it would be for like some weird company like Google, or like something very AI motivated. Yeah.
And
Because AI uses a lot of data to be trained on. So that's why people who are invested in AI want people such as me. I'm not saying I'm like, so resourceful, but you want people of that nature around to help them make conclusions about data.
so someone who's going to be watching this, then they're like, okay, now how do I do my master's or my honors in topological data analytics? In which universities perhaps is this offered?
Well, I know UWC has a few projects going on about it. And
What?
UWC.
UWC,
Yes.
University of Western Cape.
Yes.
Okay.
And I know AIMS, the African Institute of Mathematics, has one student there. But I think if someone has to ask themselves, if I want to do this, they need to ask themselves a few things. Like, one, do you like proof-based mathematics? That's a huge question, because you can't. That's a large. That's technically what I do. Sometimes I don't even tell people that the data analysis. Yeah, so you need to like proof-based mathematics, and then you follow the structure of a general undergraduate degree, where you get introduced to algebra, to analysis, and then slowly you come see topology, and then you start to realize if you want to specialize in this thing.
Okay, I see. Well, it seems like there is a lot of opportunities in this thing.
Yeah, it's caught the eye of quite a few people. So internationally, there's a lot of funding and stuff going on around this idea.
Okay. No, that's good. No, thank you so much, Kafiri.
No problem.
And last but not least, we have Shimon Kokos. Yeah, just introduce yourself and what you do.
Hi, I'm Shimon Korkus, and I recently finished my master's at UKZN under Prof. Babalal's supervision. And last week I received my examiner's reports back, and I will have the opportunity to convert this master's thesis into a doctoral thesis.
Oh, converting from master's to a PhD.
Absolutely, yes.
So it means it was very good, huh?
Yes. Well, the thesis contains original work.
Oh, yeah.
And the examiners thought that it was good enough, yes, so that it could be extended and carried on. And what I wanted to do for the PhD is explore more things and bring these new things together into a cohesive form, so that it forms a body of work instead of pieces of small works. Yes.
Yeah. No, well done on that. Like from converting your, I mean, it's actually rare cases to convert your master's to your PhD. So, well done on that. So,
Thank you.
You are researching. What is your research field?
So the bigger research field is topology,
Yeah.
and I heard from one of the speakers in this conference that topology is the study of continuous deformations
Yeah.
and properties which are preserved under those. But specifically, I'm working in the field of hyperspaces, and a hyperspace is a topological space whose points are non-empty subsets of another topological space.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
And what prompted you to go into masters, PhD, and stuff? I mean, people who are as brilliant as you, I'm sure they are poached by companies to come and make some code.
Well, I mean, I'm passionate about learning mathematics. I love thinking about mathematics and thinking about problems. And I could sit for hours and days and just think about problems. Yes.
Okay. And then any advice for someone who wants to venture into a master's or a PhD or any postgraduate in mathematics? What advice can you give them?
Maybe some advice I could give is learning how to manage your time.
Okay.
Between say your research work, maybe additional academic activities that people may do, like lecturing or tutoring,
Yeah.
or applying for funding, things like that. Yes.
Are you lecturing?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about generally. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then after a PhD, obviously you're getting into academia. That's the plan.
That's the plan. Yes.
Oh, okay. So, okay, no, that's it. Thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you.
That was nice.
So yeah, like I said, that the question that I always get the most is like, you're doing research in mathematics, so what are you doing and what are you researching on as well? So my research was in Folliker spaces. When I would say it was, I mean my PhD research, because I'm done with my PhD. It was on Folliker spaces. So, do I still remember the title of my PhD research? I think it was comparative analysis, of bonology in the category of Folliker spaces and topological spaces. So I'm not going to go into the details of actually what that is. But maybe let's talk about research in mathematics and why is research in mathematics important, and actually what is research in mathematics, because I think, especially when I always tell people I'm doing mathematics, then people are like, you're doing mathematics, so are you going to be a teacher? A lot of people think that one can be a teacher, but research in mathematics, man, is very diverse. I mean, right now we're talking about big data, is a thing that I think is a career that is actually doing a lot of noise at the moment. We have data scientists, we have data analytics and stuff like that, and there is some maths that actually go into that. I remember talking to one of the researchers in mathematics, and he was telling me that actually what he's doing is he's trying to use matrices as a way to store data. For those of you who have done mathematics, you actually should know what a matrix is, an array of numbers and stuff like that. So he was working on linear algebra and using matrices to store data, and I think he was working with some company to actually do some research in that field and stuff like that. So that's what research in mathematics actually entails. I mean, mathematics is very broad. There are people working in various fields and stuff like that. But research in mathematics can be a way of actually expanding the knowledge of mathematics, but it can also be a way of actually applying this mathematics into things that we actually can know. I mean, during COVID, one of the things that I was looking into was the models. Actually, there are mathematical models that are actually used to model diseases. I think they're called SIR models. They have different names and stuff like that. So obviously, because COVID also came in and stuff like that, so there was also some interest in actually, researching in models that actually model infectious diseases and stuff. And also I have some people that I know who are in corporate and stuff like that, especially in banking and stuff. There are models that are used in banking as well. And some of these models are mathematical models. So if there are models like that, there will always be a need to actually do research, because research is about finding new ways. Research is about understanding concepts to a deeper level and stuff like that. Research can be coming up with new knowledge, and stuff like that. So, there are people who are, doing research, who have PhDs, but they're working in corporate. And they do research for companies, I mean, in mathematics, there is this course that I like very much. It's called cryptography. So cryptography is involved with encoding messages. If you're watching movies, especially sci-fi movies, there is this thing of encoding messages or encrypting messages, such that when you send a message to somebody else, when somebody receives the message on the other end, the message is encrypted, so it must be decrypted, which means it must be what is the correct word, decoded and stuff like that. And a lot of that actually use mathematics. So if you are sending high level important data, you have to actually encode or encrypt the data in a way that if it get intercepted at some point, then the person who have intercepted that can't read the data because it's encrypted. I mean, right now there is a lot about cyberbullying and cyber crime. So I mean, there've been cases of companies actually being hacked and stuff like that. So now, people or big companies are looking into ways in how they can encrypt their data, in such. So encrypting is more like you make the data secretive in a way that even if somebody gets the data, they can't read the data. They can't make sense of the data. But now the code of doing that is a mathematical code. So that's the course, cryptography. I think at VEDS is called coding and cryptography. It's one of the courses that I actually enjoyed so much. So that is, so you see, that is actually how research actually get into this, because there are people working on these things and they're coming up with new ways of doing this and stuff like that. So part of research is actually expanding knowledge on a particular subject. I mean, also one of the subjects that I've actually grown to like in mathematics. At honors, it was a bit difficult for me. I remember I used to struggle on this subject. It's called graph theory, and it's on graphs. And graphs are not, the graphs that we're used to, like a quadratic, a linear graph. Of course, those are graphs as well. But the way they explain graphs in graph theory is that you have vertices, and then you have lines joining the vertices, which are just points, and then that is a graph. And actually, the application of this that I've seen in, or that I've thought about was actually in, the model of Uber, because, there might be a lot of people requesting at a certain time. So it means that all the points make the vertices of the graph. And then if we're all requesting at the same time, then we're all connected to the driver, meaning that we all make vertices to the driver. And then, and now, it's going to, the algorithm actually calculates the shortest distance from the driver to whomever that is requesting. If we're requesting as 10 of us, so that is graph, that can be viewed in the form of a graph. You get what I'm saying? So you can see that research actually in mathematics is very much important in advancing knowledge and building new frontiers and building new. I mean, things like AI were not here before, and the reason why I think they're here is because people, especially in ICT, in information communications and telecommunications, have been researching, and also computer science as well, and that's why we have AI. So research is actually very, very, very important. But I got asked this, by this other student, especially about research in mathematics, and I had to explain it in a very simplified way. And this is what I said. So in high school, probably you learn about the famous thing that I think all of us did in high school and that we can still do is the quadratic equation, or factorizing quadratics. I think I remember when I was still in high school, the first question was always on factorize. So the quadratic equation is the equation, right? So for us to get into the quadratic equation, it means that somebody should have researched another way of factorizing that didn't actually involve the traditional way. So whatever you know and whatever you see in mathematics, it was researched, meaning that somebody has to sit down and think about the problem and find ways and new solutions. So, some people do that, In fact, if you go to Google, there are some open problems in mathematics. That is, problems that have not been solved. And, if you're brave enough, you can actually do a PhD on those problems. So in most cases, when we do research, is coming up with better ways of doing something, or is actually coming up, creating a new form of knowledge on something as well, you see. So the Pythagoras theorem, for instance, is a theorem that was probably, I'm not sure if it was developed by Pythagoras, because sometimes you have theorems named after certain people, of which necessarily is not them who actually developed and derived those theorems and stuff, But the Pythagoras theorem as well, it means that somebody, had some questions and be like, okay, if I take this and that, then they realize that, okay, if I take if I have a right angle triangle, if I square both sides, that is equals to the hypotenuse squared, So that's actually what research is. Research is about being inquisitive, is about, thinking about problems and how to actually can, make them better, or how to come up with new forms and stuff like that. So that's actually what research in mathematics actually entails. But like I said, people have, a lot of students are asking me these questions, and I thought that perhaps we should have a talk like this. So I hope you enjoyed this, and please, if you're doing research and everything like that, you can share in the comment section below about what you're doing and everything like that. But this is it.